the first show that we did here at Front Porch Productions, we featured your music. I interviewed John Littlefield, and we kind of talked about the studio and what he's done here, and wanted to have him show off some of the things he's recorded. And so we played a bunch of Buck Sherwood songs because it's good stuff. It sounds great. And so since that, I've wanted to meet you, get you in here so we could talk, and because I really like what you do. We're going to play a bunch of stuff and get to know you, and I guess we're playing some things that we didn't play before. Want to interview John, so that'll be good. What do you want to start the show off with?
What do you say we start with a song called A Nor'east Springtime?
A Nor'east Springtime. All right, very good. So this is A Nor'east Springtime here on Local Outbreak on 100.1 The Planet.
Buck's on the radio. Woohoo! All right, Buck. Fucking A, man.
East or blind north, break of daylight. Meadows all but giving up her snow. They's honking up a storm and flapping happy. I'd really like to join in, truth be told. John and Deb have got the sap house steaming.
on 100.1 The Planet. Matt from IPMNation.com, from IPMNation.com rather, here at Front Porch Productions, John Littlefield studio here in Tilton, New Hampshire. And sitting here with Buck Sherwood. And Buck, as we talked about before, we actually featured your music on the first Local Outbreak that we did here at Front Porch. So it's good to finally have you on the show, getting to chat a little bit. And can you tell me, we had a pretty interesting conversation off air actually about where you get your inspiration from in terms of your songs. You know, you like to have a theme and whatnot. Can you tell us a little bit more about your process in terms of writing?
Sure, I'd love to. The first CD that we just put out, John and I got together and did this Hearthside Hibernation.
Yes.
And the idea of this was, being in the Northeast here, if we ever were fortunate enough to get a heavy snowfall and a cold snap, that you could perhaps just stay home for 3-4 days and let the world go by. And when this happens, you have a tendency to, get a little more intimate with some thoughts that you just never had the opportunity to spend time with because your day's schedule is just so jam-packed.
Sure.
So some of the lyrics came from that. I also had worked in these mountains in this area, the White Mountains, for better part of a decade and a half. And there's an enormity of stories out there in these mountains. Mm-hmm. So we're starting to look at that. There's some great reels and tales and things to come from these mountains. And I'd like to start working that into the lyrics. Mm-hmm. That's probably our second CD that we go after.
Okay. So are you thinking about then doing, for the next CD, it's going to be all very theme-oriented? Is it going to focus on those stories of the White Mountains, or?
Well, we're leaning toward that pretty heavy. There's, I've got some lullabies and some ballads, and mm-hmm. and I do appreciate. Don't get me wrong. You said John Littlefield and I used to be in a band that could set a barn afire in 5 minutes. Can I say who the band was?
Oh, absolutely.
The Sackett Brothers Band. We kicked some butt and had a ball doing it.
Yeah.
But now I'm doing this acoustic stuff, and it's kind of laid back, and there's a lot of nice music to be had in some of that acoustic and nuanced kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. That the electrified stuff, as much as I love it, it just can't capture some of this stuff. So that's where I'm kind of focusing right now.
Sure. Now, how long have you been working in that vein, where you're a solo artist and you're doing acoustic music?
Well, I unplugged for the most part back, I don't know, 7 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And I had never really looked at an acoustic guitar before, Mm-hmm. It just didn't appeal to me, but there's tones and things that come out of it that you just can't capture when you plug in. So I'm really trying to exploit that at this point. And it lends itself to different types of songs. And I got to tell you that James Taylor is one of my heroes. Mm-hmm. He's got his own thing going too. The minute that guy sings or plays, you know it's him.
Oh, absolutely.
Right away.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciate that kind of stuff.
Did you, when you were playing in a band, did you ever imagine that at some point you would sort of diverge into doing something like what you're doing now, or was that not really in your mind?
No. Absolutely not. It's a great question. Never did I see it happening.
Really?
It just sort of did. Mm-hmm. Kind of crept up and it happened, and I'm pretty happy it did,
Yeah.
Life has a way of throwing things at you, and you roll with it. There's no sense fighting it, because you're just one person, and the cosmos goes on and on and on. You're not about to take that thing on. So
right.
You're gonna go with it and learn to be happy. And, you'd be surprised at a lot of things that you might initially fight, that you, after the fact, see, wow, there's a whole lot more there than what I first, anticipated, etc. So
yeah.
I'm pretty happy with it.
And in terms of the songwriting, was it easy to make that transition? In other words, when you sat down with your acoustic guitar and you started writing, did that just kind of happen organically, or did you have to think about, okay, if I'm going to go in this direction, I got to write some songs. How do I do this? Initially,
when I got the acoustic guitar, all I did was write instrumentals, not
really?
A single word, none. It's actually fairly difficult to write instrumentals, because when you write songs, you get, verse, chorus, bridges, and maybe some, what they refer to as a Baroque piece, where it only plays itself through one time. Mm-hmm. It doesn't repeat. So I started fading over toward writing lyrics, just kind of toying with things, and now that's I see that perhaps for every 10 songs that I write with lyrics, I might pop out one instrumental.
Sure.
So that's kind of phased off too. But it's a challenge because folk music, especially, what you want to do is you want to tell a story, and if you really look back in the early folk music, these people were very intelligent. They wanted to get the people involved in, sometimes not truly political. I don't want to use that word, but in the fact that all people joined together can actually do something. And if everybody kind of shares in on the chores, it's really not a big deal.
Right.
But collectively, we can do something much bigger. And, I can reel off Pete Seeger, all those kind of folks.
Sure.
But they did fantastic things. And it kind of faded. It's still there in my eyes, and all you got to do is crack it open and see just how much is there, really.
Sure.
But yeah, I'd like to maybe tell some stories and bring back to life some of the things that some folks maybe never heard of, or if they did, they sort of faded and got replaced. And you just polish them up and bring them out again, and it kind of revives some stuff, and of course, put a fresh edge on it as well. So,
yeah. And in terms of the lyrical content, does that come to you at the same time that you're coming up with melodies or writing, or?
That's a great question. That's funny. Sometimes it comes at the same time, as you're playing with chords and the words just drop in. Other times, I've got just the music. I've got a whole song written without a single word.
Yeah.
And other times, you just kind of fooling with the words that rhyme.
Sure, sure.
And you got a couple of lines that are, sometimes you don't know where they came from, and other times you just hear somebody say something, and you say, bingo, there's a pretty good line. I could write an entire song off that one line that person just shot off the top of their head.
Yeah, yeah.
So it kind of, you get your antennae up now. You start looking around for stuff, and you start realizing, boy, there's a whole lot here that I overlooked. How did I not see it before? And when people start talking to you, you pick up on things now that you might not have heard before. And they're just casting off some ideas off the top of their head, and there's you can unpackage those ideas and go a long way with them. So
I get the impression that as you get further into doing music this way, where as a solo artist with and playing acoustic guitar, that my perception is that as you've gone along, you're kind of becoming almost like
Dad.
up, and you're kind of just becoming more and more.
Oh, hey, we're listening to my friend Buck on the radio.
And history and all that. And being
Yeah, hey, can I call you right back in like 5 minutes?
the idea is that
All right, cool.
been there. It's just whether or not you're aware. And my awareness is starting to peak, and it can be contagious. Somebody can hear a song, and it could trigger something in their mind, and that can trigger something in somebody else's mind, and everybody has groups of people that they all converse with, and it can really, dare I use the word zeitgeist, which is where everybody suddenly has like this moment where they all become aware of something that was always present, but they just didn't really see it or appreciate it or what.
Sure.
And that can go in many great directions. So if I can just do some little part to have some little spark here,
word,
and that's
Buck,
all I
good
can do. A little
word.
spark, but that can go a long way.
Sure, absolutely.
That's the beauty of folk music.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see the Americana stuff to folk music. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that once in a while I don't want to strap on a Les Paul and get that full tilt screech thing going, but the folk stuff is really, really hitting me hard. So
Yeah, good. No, I think you're going in the right direction, definitely. Well, why don't we play another track? What do you want to play?
why don't we try one of those little instrumentals we threw together? John and I threw this together. It's John, what's this one called?
This one is Breezy Point.
Breezy Point. I just came up with this name because this is up on Mount Mooselock's Carriage Road, Breezy Point.
Okay. And I want to remind everybody, too, that all these songs were recorded here at Front Porch Productions. So this is Breezy Point from Buck Sherwood here on Local Outbreak on 100.1 The Planet.
100.1 The Planet's Local Outbreak.
That was it? It's like they cut it off or something.